Hey, folks, it's Steve Wilmes and Matt Keita, and we're here with another
Hey,
episode of the
buddy.
Risk Control Show. We're looking all dapper today. I know you guys are like, why can't you guys dress up? Well, the reality is we were out very late last night working, and we both have just rolled out of bed,
Pretty
and
much.
pretty much. And I got even though even though I look like this and I say I just rolled out of bed, I got the call from the police department today at 5:30 in the morning saying, "Hey, we
Oh,
got your letter about these drills that you're going to do."
I gotta tell you, Steve, that's has to be the first time anybody's received a phone call from the police at 5:30 a.m. that they wanted to receive.
Yeah, right. Like, oh, it's my buddy. No, all good. I do appreciate it. We are trying to stay safe when we do these active shooter drills. We don't want to come on and announce that Matt and Steve have been shot while conducting a drill. Dude, I had a nightmare last night. I'm like, oh my God, what if someone actually comes on while we're doing those, and then we're in the middle of this thing, and radio, Matt, break, because our principals never break from scenario, even when we go, okay, cut. It's a scenario. The scenario's over. This is just a drill. Like, I want you actually to take this kid in. Like, stop it. No, I'm not.
Yeah, I'm not. We're not trying to pull one over on you. This is. Although I mean, we did have a couple where people would walk up, like that one where the librarian arrived late and pointed out the
Yeah.
kid that was
Hiding.
that was hiding. It's like, oh hey,
Hey, shoot
there's
this one. Shoot
he's
this
over
one.
here. He's over here.
Anyway, well, that's not what we're talking about today. Today we're talking about
True.
Zoom
Yes.
bombing. And gosh, I got this little question from one of our clients, and it's a public agency, and they're like, how do we stop this Zoom bombing stuff? That we got people coming on and they're screaming and they're yelling and they're doing this and doing that and interrupting the meetings, and it's annoying, and our meetings go long, and so what can we do? What can we do? This reminds me of I think it was the fuzzy potato. The fuzzy
Hmm.
potato? Furry potato?
I
We
don't know.
had we had actually we had actually bought a costume. So folks, we did some training. We were working with the JPA, and their clients were going through this, where this one particular individual, I guess, had an account on social media, and their whole concept here was to follow public employees home and harass them as part of their First Amendment speech. And I could be getting the name wrong, and I'm not, again, I got to be careful here, but there was someone doing this,
Mhm.
and the JPA asked us if we could make some training videos. So we bought that mascot peanut uniform.
Yeah, no, I
It,
remember it. The
yeah,
the big
and
the big one,
yeah.
yeah.
But it there were this is all alleged too. I don't want to put that out, but it was alleged that there was an individual doing this and really interrupting a lot of different things and harassing uh, public agency employees. And there's several sides to this that are important to note. And I think this is where a lot of public agencies become very frustrated, is they have a duty, Matt, and this
Mm.
duty has just been recodified to include all employees. Do you know what that one is, Matt?
No, no,
You
what is
know,
it?
where it's like one of our biggest topics that we're pushing right now. We're
No, no,
actually going to train on it on Saturday.
oh, yeah, workplace violence.
Workplace violence,
Yeah,
right? So
yeah,
if you have sexual harassment, you have workplace violence, right? If your employee's being harassed by an outside person, even if it's under free speech, you have a crossroads. You have a
yep.
bridge. You have an intersection of where these things meet. And who the heck wants to be harassed?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, nobody wants to be harassed. It's that's the whole point is to yeah, especially in here in California where they're rightly very protective of people being harassed, that it's very stringent laws around that and ensuring that
Like, so-
you have the right to go to work and not have to deal with certain behaviors and certain actions.
Right. Yeah, very much so. And so you get this intersection. It's a lot like our intersection with active shooters and fire and other emergency protocols, sexual molestation. Like,
Mm,
okay, when you take actions to protect A, then B is compromised. And when you take actions to protect B, A is compromised. It is a total jujitsu scenario, right?
right. Right.
And
Yeah, you have to find a middle ground that will satisfy both sides, and sometimes it's just not there.
right, exactly. So the Zoom bombing, people are very frustrated. They're trying to protest, and they're doing this in ways that are, I guess, out of what was that handbook that the for the dem for the gosh, I just read it. But it's
I think I know what you're talking
radicals,
about.
rules for
Yeah.
radicals, rules
Well,
for
yeah.
radicals.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's the out of the playbook rules for radicals. It's all these little things on how to be super annoying to get your point across and to force people into action. And Zoom bombing is one of those things.
Yeah.
And if you have a true concern and you're trying to get on a public agenda, that's one thing. But if you get on there and it has nothing to do with the meeting and you're screaming and yelling pro or anti rhetoric for whatever topic it is, it becomes very disturbing.
Right.
And
Right.
and it may not rise to the level of an actual disturbance. However, it is an interruption. It's annoying. It's off topic. People are trying to get home. People, there's so many of those things. We've sat through them, where we've been asked to go and present at a particular board meeting, and then you have this kind of stuff going on, and people are way off topic, and they're talking about all this, and we're just sitting there going, "Okay, all I want to do is present my agenda item and go home." And now it's 11 p.m., and it's like, okay, why am I impacted on this thing, right? You don't even know what my views are. I could be with you or against you, but you don't even know, and you're impacting me. And it's like, it's rude.
Yes, it is. Hey, Steve, just for those, I don't know how many of our viewers will be exactly familiar of what we're talking about with Zoom bombing. Though they probably have an idea,
Lay it out for
but
him, man.
yeah, it's the concept of it's not I mean, it could be, but for the most part, it's not like 100 people or 200 people all joining a Zoom and talking at once. It's usually a few individuals who join up and choose to. Usually, you'll have where the Zoom everybody can talk, but nobody chooses to, or they can mute or unmute, but they have the control. Then they unmute and they will rail on something or make a noise or disturbance that cuts over whatever is being discussed. Or they may even start innocuously talking about something that is tangential to the discussion, but then take it completely out of that intentionally to disturb the flow of the meeting. Is that how you would
Yeah,
describe that?
it's literally what we saw during COVID. It's a pop in, a drop in. Uh, it you take over the conversation,
Mhm.
and it's not your turn to talk, or it is your turn to talk, and you start screaming and yelling, or you talk about something that's completely off to you're filibustering, you're doing these things,
Yeah,
or you're protesting, whatever point you are in the middle of the Zoom meeting. and not giving anyone a chance to talk, right?
Right.
So this becomes problematic for public agencies because of the First Amendment and free speech, and their government agency, and it's very difficult to limit the types of things that people talk about.
Yes.
But that be so when they do that, again, back to the jujitsu piece here, when they do that, they start to compromise B, which is the First Amendment. So they're trying to protect someone and or the meeting process or the individuals as a whole. But when
Right.
they take certain actions, they may actually limit a free speech issue.
Right.
So now we get into what do we do to prevent this, and how do we prevent this? And so the first thing is have the do everything that you're supposed to do under the Brown Act, right? So
Right.
follow the Brown Act. Matt, you were a reporter for some time and
Yep.
would go through there. So what types of things do they have to do on the Brown Act?
Well, they have to, first of all, they have to have an established agenda. It needs to be posted ahead of time so that it is clear what is intended to be discussed at this meeting. You'll usually, if you usually find nowadays, you'll find this online with just about every public agency. They'll post that, and maybe you'll see it if you walk into their government buildings. You will see it posted on a bulletin board or as well, or posted visually, and then they are required to follow that agenda. You can't introduce random agendas that have not random items that have nothing to do with it, because the point is that everybody has to have the time to prepare for whatever the subject matter is. Like if it's something that's really, if you're a parent, Steve,
I
and
am.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And you are a parent. If you had a major point you needed to make at a school, your school board district, and you saw on the agenda they weren't scheduled to talk about it this week, and then the day before the meeting, it was updated, and now there's an agenda item that includes this, and you didn't have time to prepare. That's a violation of the Brown Act. So then, what?
Yeah,
Once you
so they actually have to I mean, you can introduce items when they do call for agenda review of the agenda, addition of items,
right,
but they can't take action on those items, right?
right,
So
right.
they also have to have some public discussion, and they
Yep.
got to avoid serial communication, so they can't discuss these by playing the telephone game. Hey, let's do this, let's do that, blah blah blah. Okay, let me call. Those things.
Right.
So yeah, follow the Brown Act. I mean, that's the biggest thing is post your agenda,
Yep.
and I think then the biggest thing is call for the speakers, right? So allow people your registration process doesn't have to be difficult. It doesn't have to cut down free speech. But what you
Yeah.
do is you call for speakers outside public that wants to make a point, and have them uh, put down their notice that they want to talk and on what particular agenda item or public comment period.
Mhm.
And when you do that, now you have a list of individuals that you'll be looking for and can call upon during the Zoom meeting, right?
Right, right.
Yeah,
So Zoom, with related to, I know one of the features that Zoom has, Steve. Let me ask you this question. So Zoom has the capacity for the Zoom meeting organizer to mute or unmute individuals, and to also have individuals automatically be muted and unable to unmute
right.
when they come in. If you set up something like that, would you consider that to be a potential infringement on
No,
first speech, or is it
no.
okay to have that level of
It's
control? As
okay to have that level of control.
okay,
Um,
then I would recommend that agencies do that then, so that
Absolutely.
they can
They
control
should
that.
do that. I mean, when you go to a regular meeting, you can't just start yelling out. You'll
Right.
be asked to, that's creating a disturbance. If you talk over someone, that's creating a disturbance. And so those are things that we have to look at. Um, so, yes, call for the speakers. And here's a little tip where this actually jumps down in our list, but setting deadlines, right? So you have a call for the speakers prior to the date of the meeting, so one day prior, and then day of meeting, you can have people still request, but you have a cutoff. You don't just go all the way to the end, right? So you have a cutoff. Say maybe your board meeting starts at 5 p.m. So you have a cutoff at, let's say, 1 p.m. That gives you 4 hours to prep and prepare. And
Mm.
so you know who's going to be talking. If they miss that, that's okay.
Yeah.
So when you do that, then as Matt said, when you start your Zoom meeting, you should really have two moderators so that they can identify who's coming next. Like one that's actually doing the schedule, monitoring the time, one that's monitoring uh, the flow or the, what would I
Yeah, of the
say,
actual meeting.
order.
The
Well, the
yeah,
order of the speakers, right?
right.
And then you have the second moderator moderating the disturbance potential and controlling the microphone, right? So that's a very important role. And as you see here on my list, I say have an attorney present. That
Yeah.
if you're the general public watching this and you want to know why your tax dollars are so high, this is the reason why. Because you have to start to, I'll use the union term, featherbed every meeting with a bunch of stuff that is ridiculous to prevent these disturbances to the
Right.
order of the public uh, agendas and meetings and the order of business. And so, if you have an attorney present, what that does is it gives you a faster response to understand if this rises to the level of disturbance.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Um, so when the person is speaking, you have your moderator, who may be the attorney, who can
Right.
determine whether or not that this is um, speech that rises to the level of disturbance. And I keep saying rises to the level of disturbance. It has to create an actual disturbance. So, if someone is upset and they're calm and they're calling out the actions of board or the city, or they're expressing their discontent or their pro or anti agenda, there's not much you can do about that. And
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
what you can do is here set time limits. So you
Mm.
give 2 minutes, you shut it off at 2 minutes. Don't be like these moderators on the, on the news. Okay, that's your time. That's your time. That's shut the microphone off.
Yeah, shut the microphone
Yeah,
off.
and if you do that, you'll be in line. But you have to do that equally. You have to do that consistently, and that's why it's
Yeah.
important to have the two moderators, right?
Right.
So have two moderators to do that. One's closely monitoring time and for public comment and these types of things. And so the other thing there, I think, Matt, like you were saying, is to uh, use a unique ID. So every time you go on Zoom or if you're broadcasting these meetings, then you put in a new meeting, right? And you
Right.
create a unique ID. That way, folks that were at the last meeting don't have the link and just hop on whenever or share that with 10,000 people. I mean, you are
Right.
posting it online, you are posting it there. So it's going to be available. But again, you're not overloaded. So one way to Zoom bomb is if you don't have the appropriate level of capabilities with your Zoom, you could get a bunch of people that log in prior to the
Right.
individuals, and then everybody else is in suspense.
Yeah.
So that's another way. Another thing that you can do here is to create a waiting room. right? Again, but you have to have your moderator.
Yeah,
Um,
someone has to be on that,
right,
and nothing more frustrating, if especially if you're a legitimate attendee, than sitting
right,
there in the waiting room waiting to be let in, and nobody is paying
right,
attention and letting you in for the
right.
longest time. At that point, you're pulling out your phone, and it's like, someone let me in. What's going on? And yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
you need to have that person.
Yep, absolutely. So set time limits, create unique IDs for each meeting that you hold, have two moderators, have an attorney that can review the speech in real time so that you know whether or not it rises to the level of disturbance and understand what a disturbance is. That's really the big thing is what is a disturbance? So this actually needs to create an interruption, a I'm trying to Matt, you're the wordsmith. So without circular definitions, but you're creating an interruption or
Mhm.
a fear where people take action upon that. So they get up out of their chairs. The meeting stops. You can be off topic a little bit, and that it could Alexa stop could create a little bit of a disturbance. Um, the question
Right,
is to what degree and how much off topic. That's where you need to have your attorney look at it. But you're
right.
creating this in a what's some other words there, Matt?
You're I mean, you were on the right route there. It just, you're trying to have you're trying to have the ability to take in what everybody is saying and give the appropriate openness to the meeting that you need to get that discourse going, without having it delve off into a tangential topic, or, like you say, rise to the level of a disturbance where somebody is being loud, or maybe foul mouthed, or overly angry and
Well, but
agitated.
again, foul mouth is is free
Yeah, if
speech.
you're foul mouthed but on topic,
Yeah.
yeah, it's,
And
you
again,
could.
that's free speech and you can't limit that.
Yep.
Um, so I think when we look at it, it's got to be that interruption or breakdown to the
Mhm.
law following behavior in the meeting. So not just decorum, but breakdown in the functioning of the meeting, right?
Right.
We
I
look
would
at
say public agencies in general should go with the mentality, or have that mentality of being open to discussion and taking that in. You want to be able to have that public discourse,
well, no
and
one's
you want
saying
to,
no. I mean, let's not
yeah,
get off topic here. I think
right,
yeah, they do. They have public comment period. That's the whole point.
right,
Um, so no one's saying that. I'm saying that you the disturbance is breaking the meeting process. So you're not only off agenda item, but you are
yeah,
interrupting and breaking the peaceful and law abiding,
yeah,
a law
the
following to the
atmosphere,
Brown Act, meaning that you can no longer conduct the business of the agenda.
right,
And
right,
so the disturbance has to come in. It could be physical. It's rarely mental, but it is physical. So if people are getting up, leaving in fear of their life, if you have to shift out of your seats, right? If it is completely off topic, um, if there is a personal attack, right? So rising to the level of the hate speech, these are all where the person feels that they are in fear of their life and they have to take action on that immediately. Those
right.
are the types of things. So if someone said, "Oh, I put a bomb in this room," that's a disturbance to the
Yeah,
meeting.
yep,
But if I get on and I'm using a few curse words and I'm saying I don't like what Public Works has done on this roadway, and this is part of the median project, well, That doesn't
Yeah.
really lie.
Yeah, that's fair. It's fair comment. It may
Yeah,
not be delivered the way you want it, but it's fair
right.
comment. It's funny you mentioned the a physical disturbance. For some reason, my mind immediately flashed. I feel like we've talked about this, Steve. So I'm sure you're already aware of it. But the individual in the courtroom in Las Vegas who was upset at what the judge was saying, so he vaulted the his desk and jumped over the
Yes, that's a
judge's
disturbance.
area. That's a disturbance. And the bailiffs the judge dove out of the way, and the bailiffs grabbed him and got him. It became this big video thing. That if you haven't seen it, just for nobody was hurt other than
No,
maybe
I
some
thought the judge
bruises.
was hurt.
No, I thought the judge was okay.
No,
I didn't.
the judge was injured.
Oh wow. Okay. Well, I
Yeah,
hope that
and it's
I
hard
know
to,
she was.
I know
Yeah.
AI is very powerful, but no one's jumping through the Zoom video screen. so,
Yeah, that's
again,
true.
the point is you create this interruption, and the interruption has to affect the order of the meeting, right? So it has to be a technical disturbance. Um, golly, hold on to that call, Matt. This is Steve. Hey, Christy, I'm in the middle of a meeting. Can I call you back after 11? Okay, thank you. So, you have to create that major interruption, be off agenda topic, be threatening, right? And basically you're shutting down the meeting. These are nuances, and the nuance is best left to the attorneys to determine whether or not this rises to that level. So one thing that you can do is kind of set that out ahead of time. Like, what are the things that the board should be looking for? What are the things that the moderator should be looking for that would rise to that level? And again, physical dispersal is one. Having to call in the police, right? Where those types of things are really at the physical location. Zoom
Mhm.
bombing, you would get into the idea that someone has taken over control of the Zoom meeting, right? So has hacked it. Someone keeps unmuting their microphone and dialing in. You can remove that person and lock them out from re-entry, but if they've rise to the level of disturbance, meaning they've had their time, you shut them down, right? You gave them their 2 minutes. Now they come back on, they just keep opening their microphone and screaming and yelling or playing super loud music, interrupting the
Yeah.
other person's time. Those are things that may rise to the level of a disturbance. So it's nuanced, it's important. You got to take a look at this. I know we kind of got off topic a little here and there, but the bottom line is understand the key to this. The key is, what is a disturbance? How do you define that? And everything else is fair play. And I'm a big free speech guy. We had our podcast studio. People would say, is it okay to talk? You can talk about whatever you want. I don't care. It's on you, Um, let's have those discussions. What I don't like though is when it becomes a personal attack and it's threatening and these types of things, then those are not good. And if you are preventing, like, free speech has to go around to everybody. So if you're preventing someone else from speaking, right? That
Right.
there, I always think about it like this. You uh I heard a free speech, constitutional rights attorney once, and he said two things. Well, he said one thing, and I've added to this. Uh, he said, "You have a right to free speech. You don't have the right to be offended." And it's
Okay.
very important to understand that you don't have the right to be offended. You got the right to say whatever you want. I take that one step further and and I think this is important for everyone to understand. Matt, you have the right to free speech.
Mhm.
You don't have a right for me to listen to you. I don't have to listen to you,
Right.
right? Uh,
Yeah.
you can stand on the corner and shout everything you want. There's nothing that says I have to stay there and listen to it.
Right.
And
Right.
I
And
think, go ahead.
right. Right. Exactly. You have the right to agree or disagree with the person, and beyond that, it's really out of anyone's control.
Yeah. So I do think the comedian said it best. He said, "Hey, when was the last time your parents went to a dinner meeting and they came or to a dinner meeting? Let me the comedian. I forget which comedian, so I'm throwing this out. Let me rephrase this because that's not exactly what he said. They said, "When's the last time that you were sitting at home and your parents went to the holiday, with the family, and good old Uncle Pete is saying on and on about religion, and your dad says to your mom, gee whiz, he sure made a lot of good points. We should switch our religion." I think, in our society today, we see a lot of these protests. We see a lot of the anger and the harsh interruptions and disruptions to public discourse. And I think there are a lot of ways to do it. Um, there's a lot of ways to get your message out there. I think what people forget, and the reason why these protests occur, is are even the speech that occurs during these meetings. People are frustrated. They don't have the time, the money to put on a major national campaign, or even a countywide or citywide campaign,
Right.
school district
Right.
wide campaign, to properly get their message out there, hold meetings, talk about these, hold focus groups, do all these things. It's hard. And
Yeah.
we always talk about our positions with security, and the verbal judo and de-escalation, and how do we empathize. Just remember that when you're sitting there and you're running the meeting, yes, it's frustrating. Matt and I have sat through many of these where
Yes.
we're delayed 4 or 5 hours to give our presentation, which is actually on the agenda, and we need to talk about what our project was and how we did it
Yeah.
for the city. But the point to it is that you have to empathize with the person that is so frustrated, and the way you do that is, you may not agree or disagree with the concept, but you can empathize how you feel when you're so frustrated, you have nowhere else to turn. You feel as though your voice isn't heard, that you are being taken advantage of, or that there's some impact that is going to break you, and you just have to get that out. And that you can feel that. You can put yourself in the position when you're at work and you're frustrated with the boss. You can put that in the position of being at home or with the family members, and you never get to do what you want to do. You never get, so you can empathize with that position in that moment. And I think that'll bring a lot of peace and calm to moderators and the individuals that are running the meetings. It's frustrating, but
Yeah.
everybody here signed up for it, right? We all signed up to serve the public, and sometimes we have to serve those that are less fortunate. Sometimes we have to serve those that are less adept at presenting themselves, or whatever that may be, and just understand that. But I think if you have a little empathy, a lot of this can be calmed down. For those that aren't and it's total disruption, well, we've given you several tips. Contact us if you need more. Don't forget to check out, we should put together a course on this, Matt, for our online training programs.
We absolutely should.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we should really do that and get into disruptions and stuff. All right, well, that I got to get going because I got another meeting to get to. Talk to you later. See everyone later on the next episode of the Risk Control Show.